Hello and welcome to the old Fliers. An article in the Western Australian newspaper last week stated that airlines are using services such as Osprey flight solutions to avoid flight through conflict zones. These conflict zones include airspace above Russia, Ukraine and parts of the Middle East. I emailed a friend who is a check captain at a major airline, and he replied that pilots are seeing interference with GPS signals when flying close to these zones. GPS, or Global Positioning System, is globally available using 24 orbiting satellites that transmit one-way signals giving your position and time. The US Space Force gifts this service to all users. Other countries, worried perhaps that the US could turn off the system in times of crisis, have established their own systems. Russia has GLONASS, Japan Quasi-Zenith Satellite System, the European Union Galileo System, China's BeiDou system, and the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System in India. With its accurate, continuous and global capabilities, GPS offers seamless satellite navigation services that satisfy many of the requirements for aviation users. Space-based position and navigation enables three-dimensional position determination for all phases of flight, from departure, en route and arrival to airport service navigation. The trend towards an area navigation concept means a greater role for GPS. Area navigation allows aircraft to fly user-preferred routes from waypoint to waypoint, where waypoints do not depend on ground infrastructure. This has been especially true in areas that lack suitable ground-based navigation aids or surveillance equipment. In many cases, aircraft flying over data-sparse areas, such as oceans, have been able to safely reduce their separation between one another, allowing more aircraft to fly more favourable and efficient routes, saving time, fuel and increasing cargo revenue. GPS is a growing part of aviation infrastructure as it replaces traditional radio beams used to guide planes towards landing. Imagine then what could happen if it was possible to interfere with GPS signals and the effect this would have on aircraft. Imagine no more. Right now, GPS jamming and GPS spoofing is happening. Spoofing is one country's military sending false GPS signals to an enemy plane or drone to hinder its ability to function, and that has collateral effect on nearby airliners. GPS jamming gives false ground proximity warnings to aircraft, even at cruise altitudes, and false wind shear warnings.
Terrain, pull up.
V1.
Pull up.
Several pilots recently said that they experienced terrain pull-up warnings in cruise at 36,000 feet, which on a dark night was disconcerting, I bet. A few major airways from Asia to Europe run through Iran, Iraq into Turkey. There is a high level of military GPS jamming through those areas as well as elsewhere. Each airline has a slightly different procedure for dealing with and mitigating the navigational threat. Some airlines deselect the GPS as primary navigation mode and rely on the onboard flight management computer to navigate the aircraft through those areas. The FMC can update its position from ground aids and also uses inertial references to cross-check the aircraft's position. It is not as precise as GPS location, but it is still quite accurate and within tracking tolerances, allowing 4 nautical miles deviation in airways. By deselecting the GPS, the threat of corrupting the navigation is mitigated. Pilots must notify ATC if they are suffering signal interference. Most GPS interference events don't last more than 30 minutes, but in some areas like Turkey, pilots may experience multiple jamming or interference events. Technology is currently being developed so the FMC and GPS can recognise when the signal is being interfered with, and the interference will be discounted. 20 years ago, the authorities were saying that ILS installations would no longer be required, as Aviation moved to GPS RNAV, fully self-contained approaches. However, here we are 20 years later and the humble ILS is still the most reliable approach and used to autoland an aeroplane in near zero visibility.
An aircraft descends through a thick layer of overcast clouds. The altimeter indicates the ground is getting closer and closer. Suddenly, approach lights appear out of the mist, leading to a wide runway, and the aircraft makes a smooth touchdown. It's one of the most satisfying actions a pilot can make, flying an instrument approach to minimum altitudes, and it's made possible by the Instrument Landing System, or ILS. The ILS uses highly directional radio transmitters on the ground to provide an approach path for exact alignment on an aircraft's descent to land.
There are still too many variables, including GPS interference, temperature correction errors, incorrect QNH causing altitude errors, amongst others, to rely upon aircraft self-contained equipment. The ILS suffers none of those errors. There has been no fix to GPS spoofing near war zones. Instead, there have been calls to better training of pilots. GPS jamming and spoofing have grown worse in Eastern Europe, the Black Sea and the Middle East, according to industry group Ops Group. This is far from the end of the story. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and that will promote new content.